Good afternoon. This is Marta Weston for the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program at the University of Florida, in concert with the Hannibal Square Heritage Center and Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida, at the Hannibal Square Heritage Center, speaking with 5 community leaders, ladies who have been identified to us as people with a significant story to tell. They'll be introducing themselves in just a moment, but this is just to open the program and first ladies to give you our thanks. Thank you very much for being here today. Ms. Walker, if you could identify yourself, who you are, when and where you were born, please.
Linda Walker Chappelle. I was born here in the Winter Park area, on Leland Avenue.
Okay. And there are 5 women present, so maybe you don't want to say your date of birth. So that's what I was looking for.
Well, I would say that I'm the youngest member of the team.
Okay. And we'll leave it there. Then, can you tell the month and day of your birth if you choose not to say it?
I don't have a problem with that. May 31st, 1954.
Thank you very much. And Miss Everett, if you would please introduce yourself.
Okay. Carol Walker Everett, my sister, and I was born at 447 West New England Avenue, right down the street, January 1st, 1951.
And you were born at home or a hospital?
At home.
Okay, and
I was born in a hospital.
okay. Miss Dinkins?
My name is Ella Johnson Dinkins. I was born April 4, 2018. I'm 95 years old. I was born in Orlando, Florida, at on Terry Street. And Dr. J.B. Callahan was my doctor.
Thank you very much. And Miss Baylor?
I was born in Winter Park, Florida, 444 West New England Avenue, Locken Hotel.
Okay. And could you please state your full name?
And my name is Eugenia Felder Baylor. And I was born 11/25/27. I'm 85 years old.
And you were born at home?
At the Locken Hotel.
Oh, at the Lockett Hotel?
Yes. Right down New England from the girls there. I was born before them.
That's going to be a very interesting story. And Miss Dexter, if you please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Edis Thomas Dexter. I was born March 30th, 1940 in Montezuma, Georgia.
Well, ladies, since we have a panel, we're going to try to get to some common themes, but first I'd just like to individually speak to each of you about your parents, who your mother and father were, and if you can also tell me about their parents as much as you can remember. And Ms. Dexter, if we start with you, who are your mom and dad?
My father is Stetson Thomas. He was known as S.T. Thomas in this particular area. He was a migrant worker transporter, and he took people from the Orlando area to New York to work every year. My mother was Cora Mae Thomas, and she did not work. She just took care of the 16 kids that she had.
16. Do you have 15 brothers and sisters?
I had. There are only 7 of us now.
Beautiful, beautiful.
While we're here with you, could you mention them from oldest to youngest, please?
Okay. Being in the middle and some were dead before I was born, the youngest one is John W. Thomas, who teaches in Seminole County. The next is my sister, Elois White, who is a nurse at Florida Hospital. My third sister is Bernice Costner. She's a librarian in New Hartford, New York. And then there's me, and I'm retired. My next sister was Pauline Alexander. She's deceased. My brother Emmanuel Thomas, who was deceased. And then I have, trying to follow them in order, Eloise O'Brien, who lives in New Hartford, New York. And then there was Stetson Thomas. He's deceased now. And there's Willie James Thomas, who's deceased. They have a lot of kids, so they're scattered all over New York. But anyway, we're still a pretty big family. I don't know names of the other children. I'm sorry, yes I do. I had a sister and brother that were killed by lightning, and one was Ada, she was 12, and Buster, We called him Buster, but anyway, he was 10.
And your mother?
My mother's Cora Mae Thomas. She's deceased now.
Yeah. Who were her mother and father?
Her mother and father were Ada West and Buster West from Valdosta, Georgia.
Yeah, and your dad, who were his mother and father?
My father's people, I didn't know my grandmother, but I do know that she was, we did our family history. She was a Blackfoot Indian out of Montezuma area. They had there's a reservation there.
Mm-hmm.
And his father was Stenson Thomas Sr., and he was a minister in that area.
Thank you.
And they're both deceased.
Besides your mother and father and your grandparents, are there older members of your family that go back further that you have knowledge of?
Well, I knew my father's older brothers. They're, believe it or not, they're all deceased now. Well, you would think so, because I'm 73 years old, so we're talking about uncles and all. But they lived in Tampa, in Boston, and Valdosta, Georgia.
And what were their names?
Okay. Well, there was Elijah Thomas, who lived in Tampa. There's Willie Thomas, who lived in Tampa. There was Myers Thomas, who lived in Detroit. And I don't know where my Uncle Henry really. He lived in Montezuma, Georgia. And they're all deceased. My aunt I knew very well. So we used to call, I said I knew very well. To her, I can't think of her name right now. We used to call her Aunt Munch, but she died when I was a little girl in an auto accident. But we don't have a lot older than us still around.
Well, thank you. Miss Bala,
Yes.
who are your mother and father?
My mother was Mary Minnie Lee Sharp Larkin Felder. Her father, my grandfather, was Eli Sharp of Adel, Georgia. And my grandmother was Violet Roundtree. So that's where I come in, came to the Roundtree, because my grandmother was a Roundtree. And on my father's side, his name was Edward Eugene Felder, and he came from British Honduras. Mother was Adel, Georgia lady, and my father and his mother and his two sisters and daddy came to Key West when they were young. And my sister went over that water to see them, and I wasn't going because I have claustrophobia, and I wasn't going across that bridge. So I never did see them, but I know of them. And my grandfather used to raise the game chickens, well, you know what they used to fight with. You know those
Cockfights.
Cockfights.
Yes,
That was what he did, because that's where they did over from where they came. Mm-hmm. So it was 5 of us, and there's 2 of us dead, 2 sisters dead, which is Mary Edgar died there, and Betty Felder Hoyer, and my brother Herbert E. Felder living out of Mount William Felder. William Alexander Felder live in Atlanta, and I live at 860 West New England Avenue.
Do you have children?
Yes, I have 2 daughters, and it's Gunnar L. Slater and Eugenia L. Baylor Jackson.
Thank you. Ms. Dinkins, who are your mother and father?
My mother and father, my father was a contracting builder, A.N. Johnson. He built churches and houses. My mother was Addie Grambling Johnson, and she was a school teacher, and she graduated from Atlanta University, and Dr. Du Bois taught her English at Atlanta University. My grandmother was named Ella Grambling, and my grandfather's name was Oscar Grambling, and my grandmother's mother was named, I can't think of it right this minute, but she was back in slavery time, and her, was it her master, but she was part Indian. I do remember that, and my father my father's father was a principal in Chester, Pennsylvania, and I don't know too much. His mother was just a housewife, I suppose. But there were two girls and one boy with that marriage. With my mother and father, there were 8 of us, 4 boys and 4 girls, one set of twins. And the only ones that's living now is my older sister Mary and myself and my sister Jarvie. The rest of them are passed on. There are a lot of grandchildren, great-grandchildren.
Can you give the names of your brothers and sisters that are no longer with you, but who
Well,
did you remember?
Yes, Mary was Walter was the older boy. Mary was the next girl. I was the next girl. Then there was Jarvie, and there was Sadie and Samuel, and then there was Oscar.
Okay, so Sadie and Samuel were twins?
Yes.
So they were the knee babies together?
Yes.
Okay. That's a term I've come up
Yes.
with.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Miss Everett, who were your mother and father? Or are your mother and father?
Yes, well, my mother's Jeannie Turner Walker from Reynolds, Georgia. And her father was Amos Turner from Reynolds, Georgia. My grandmother was Josie Cleveland Walker from Reynolds, Georgia.
On your mother's side?
On my mother's, this is on my mother's side I was going down. And on my father's side, my mother and father were not married, but it's Charles Samuel Perry. And he was born in City Point, Florida, which is no longer City Point, which is in Brevard County. And he was born there, and his mother was named Josephine Thagard. And his father was Columbus Perry, I'm sorry. But they had 3, 4 boys, and they all just kind of ventured they came from the south in Florida, went to City Point, and from City Point came to Winter Park. And they were like little entrepreneurs in the city, doing different things, of being a chauffeur, owning a store. Josephine Thagard owned a rooming house on Morse Boulevard and around town. My dad owned a store, and at one point something happened where he killed someone, and that's when they all left in 53 or 54, going to Chicago and to Toledo, Ohio. That's how they ended up there. And as far as my siblings growing up, there were 6 or 7 really, but we never knew the 7th one because he was the oldest and he died 2 or 3 years in Georgia. But for us growing up here was 6 of us, 3 boys and 3 girls. And the oldest brother was Willie James Walker, who worked at the Winter Park Hospital. And then there was William Walker. Billy went into the military and then came out, went to school, and then became a disabled veteran. And there was Donald Walker, who was our resident artist for Winter Park. They all 3 are deceased now. And then there was me, the 4th child, the oldest daughter. Then there was Linda. And for myself, I went to Valencia Community College in Florida State and in Rollins. And then there's Linda Walker. And then there's Hazel Walker, which is the youngest, who works for Head Start. And we've been right here on New England Avenue, moved 3 times at 447, 430, and then 730 West New England. All our childhood was right here off of New England Avenue.
Did she get it right as well?
Yes, she did. And I was the angel in the family. Then we had.
Did she leave anything out?
Well, pertaining to what she said, she didn't leave anything out. But my mother, Jeannie Walker, met my dad, Leroy Johnson, in 1951. And then I was conceived, and my younger sister, I was conceived in 54. Hazel was conceived in 55. Leroy Johnson was from Swinburne, Georgia. He said they called the area in which he lived in the Crossing Green settlement. His mother was named Martha Green. His dad was named Charlie Johnson. They're both deceased. The only thing that she did leave out was on my mother's side. Her dad was named Amos Turner, and his dad was named Ben J. Turner.
Okay. Well, we'll go with some broad themes, because to ask each of you individually about your education and things like that might be we might be talking for a long
Right.
time individually. So let me start out with just the whole idea of being here in Winter Park. What is Winter Park like? And particularly, what is the Black experience, the experience for African American people like here in Winter Park from your perspective, having lived here in your lives? And we'll start with you.
Well, no, I will let the Sage people start first, and then I'll follow up or whatever to where when I came in on the scene.
Well, that sounds like a good idea. That sounds like a good idea. So we'll start with one of you ladies, either Miss Baylor or Miss Dinkins, to lead off the discussion.
Well, I went to Hannibal over there, and then we graduated, and then we went to Hannibal. And I stopped in 11th grade, and after that I went and took up Head Start over in Orlando. And I taught Head Start, and I stopped in 69, and I did a lot of volunteer until I got able not to do any volunteer. And I worked for good people here in Winter Park. And I can tell you about how it was when I was a child and all of that. Because down here, where this was Black Bottom where I was, we came down there, and it was Clay Street. And every time it rained, they had to come and grate the streets because we didn't have any bricks or nothing like that. And when it rained, the water would come up to the step, and I was so afraid I was going to get drowned because I couldn't swim. And then when we was kids, you know, when it rained, the fishes and the frogs and the tadpoles and all would fall out of the sky. And we would go out there and pop them, you know, with our feet. But you can't see it now. They don't went up in the sky and done killed all that. But that's where the fishes and stuff would come from the sky. God would put it down. And I wish it was so my grandchildren could see that, you know, what we saw when we were kids. And all down there where the park is, it was just woods, you know, and it was a gator in there. And we would feed the gator and beat the gator because it was a dump there. And well, we didn't know after I got grown and the gators were eating the dogs and stuff. Oh my God. Then that's when I got afraid because the gator could have, mother wouldn't know nothing about it, you know, because we go save some of our food and feed that gator and take them bricks and sticks and beat the gator. Down in the pond across from there. It was Maitland a long time ago, and they changed it from Maitland to Denton because it was a Maitland over in really Maitland. Everybody, they had stores there, and this was nothing but resident, and the people would come here looking for the stores, and they had to change it. And when they changed the park, made the big park down there, that's when the big gator came out at night. They think nobody didn't know it could pull the gator out at night. That gator was the longest gator you ever want to see. Come from right out that park, and you know who put it in there? Mr. Morrell put him in there as a baby.
Who was Mr. Morrell?
Our neighbor, Mr. David Morrell, put him in there as a little bitty baby. And as I was saying, on the other side of us, it wasn't nothing but weeds, you see, and where Mr. Dice would raise his garden, and all on the other side, Mr. Gray and Mr. What his name? Mr. Woods, and they would all garden down there. And when they get through with the potatoes and stuff, they give all the neighbors after they grate them. And we had sweet potatoes every day. You just go in the house and get one with a ketchup bag, you know. And at night, we would, you can't do it now, but at night we would get the ties and stuff from the dump and make a fire there with light, and we play hide and seek at night. You can't play no hide and seek at night because the children is wise. They know everything. We was dumb back then. We didn't know anything. Because back there, all the parents told you, say, well, don't mess with the boys, but she didn't say how you mess with boys, you know? And I don't care, to this day, I always wonder. They had a swing there, they always had a swing there at our school. And the boy would swing him and buy me a sneaker. When I get home, mother noted. And to this day, I don't know how come but I didn't lie because I knew I didn't do anything wrong. I said, yeah, it was the Zambia boy that got killed up north, the oldest one. And he was swinging me. And when I get home, I'm going to say, you been swinging in the swing and had a sneaker? I said, yes, ma'am. And that was all because I didn't lie and she didn't chastise me. And I have two sisters deceased. That's Mary and Betty.
You mentioned that the young man was killed up north. What happened to him?
Well, working with cars and the jack went down. You know that uplift thing?
Yes, when the hydraulic jack.
That drop, yeah, it fell on him and killed him. They had to bring him home and bury him. That's the Zanders family. Marvin Zanders and the Undertaker was deceased now. That was his oldest brother. And you see, now where this stroke, the capon is, it was a hill there. And we used to ride our bicycle, and the bicycle sometimes throw us down, you know, because it was a hill, and we didn't know how to ride the hill. But as they kept grading the road and fixed the road, they took the hill away. So everything down here was clay and dirt. Until they found and put some bricks in, you know, cement down there, make us roads. Yeah.
Did you have any knowledge, just before going to mistaken this one? No, you didn't have paved roads, anything like that. It was different in the white section. Is that right?
Oh, you know they had bricks down there.
So yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now, but you knew.
Oh yeah.
Okay. How did you all feel about that?
Oh, it didn't mean nothing else. It didn't mean anything to us, so we was kids, and we just know at 6 o'clock you don't go across that railroad track. Then you had a job down there. I'm telling you, you didn't go down there. And my mama never, to this day, I've never window shop. Cause she didn't lie that. She said, you don't have any money, you ain't got no business down there window shop. You got money, you go buy. And boy, everybody bought their clothes from Lady and Easter time. All of us had pink, red, all same color dresses. Had to find us underclothes and stuff for us, you know. And so everything was all right. Cause as for this sinkhole, it was in blueprint down. Cause Mr. Long and Mr. English told them not to bother that little water thing across from Hollow Shoe Lake, cause it was an undercurrent there, and he didn't know where it go, cause he the one put all the bricks down for the white folks, Eloise Long daddy, but since you know he's dog, they don't pay no attention to dog. He put it down in the blueprint, cause they kept on sucking and sucking till they sucked that hole in there, took everything, the pool and everything with it. It just lucky it went under a Fairbanks. And come under there and got the pools and everything from the park. But it was told in black and white, do not bother that little water that swoop up in the thing, because he said it was undercurrent, he didn't know where it went. And it says no bottom. See, when there's the undercurrent like that, there's no bottom down there. When they can't find the bottom now in that sinkhole, they can't find it. You don't know how many thousands of feet it is down there because it's under. Mm-hmm. And they've been down there trying to find it, but they can't. They can't find it. Mm-hmm. They just can't.
They're looking for one of those sports cars. I said they were looking for one of those sports cars.
Yeah.
They used to dump stuff in there?
No, this is where the sinkhole carried the cars down in the lady's house, everything.
Okay, well, I'm not familiar.
So there was a business there on Fairbanks and Dennings, and there was an exotic car repair shop there. Mm-hmm. So 3 Porsches and things went down in the sinkhole. Miss May Rose's house went down in the sinkhole. Mm-hmm. The city swimming pool went down in the sinkhole. Mm-hmm. And that's what she was talking about. And it all occurred starting that Friday evening. They saw it going down pretty fast. Trying to help Miss May Rose get her things out. Her little dog Muffin was there because he was barking.
Yeah.
The dog could tell something was wrong.
Yeah.
And so all the people in the neighborhood kind of got together and helped move her out. Then next thing, by that Saturday morning, it was all gone. Couldn't rescue the cars and nothing. And part of the dry cleaners up there, the back of it went down. And they stayed anyway.
That's right.
So that's what she was talking about.
Mm-hmm. That's because not paying attention to what we say.
That's
You know, what we say don't mean anything. You know, because it's the truth.
But came the light.
Huh?
Came the light.
Yeah, what we say don't mean nothing, but because they, even though you got good education, you know what you're doing, you put it down in black and white, but somebody want to say they know more than you, and that's what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what caused the trouble.
Because he was not an engineer, see. But he had common sense.
He was an engineer
In the sense.
in his own way.
In his own way.
Because he built all these roads, all them roads you see. He did it, and Mr. Stanley helped him. Mr. Long.
Mr. L-U-N-G, like
Long, yeah, L-O-N-G,
Long.
L-O-V Long, old man Long, off of Weber, on the in-house down there. And Mr. English was on sound.
Ms. Dinkins, what are your impressions of having lived here in Winter Park?
No, I don't live in Winter Park, I live in Eatonville.
Pardon me, well, in Eatonville.
I live in the oldest historical black town in these United States.
That's right.
Well, how we got to Eatonville? During the Depression, my father lost everything we had in Lakeland, Florida, our home and property and everything. And we came to Sanford. Well, my father had, well, let me go back. The Hungerford Vocational High School in Eatonville, where the Calhouns were the principals, and they came from Tuskegee Institute to Eatonville to put a school, and it was Hungerford Vocational and Training School. And at that school, you were trained how to do everything: mechanical, typewriting, English, all the sports, and everything. You were trained there at the vocational school. And the Calhouns wanted to build them a house, and so there was a teacher and her husband there that knew my mother and father, and she told them about my father.
What were their names?
Beulah Curtright. I can't think of his name, but the Curtrights. And they told the Calhouns about my father, and we were in Sanford at that time, and my father came out and built them a 2-story red brick house with a basement in it. And after that happened, here in Eatonville, Mr. Judge Brazel encouraged my father to buy property in Eatonville. So he brought property in Eatonville, and he brought 31 acres of land. And in that 31 acres of land, he paid $1 an acre for it, $31. That was back in the late 20s, 22, 23, in that area. And then we moved to Eatonville, and at first there was a house that oh my goodness, I can't think of the name right now, but the person that had the house is out there to rent, or what are your last name?
Weston.
Westons. They were all relatives, and we lived in one of those houses. And then they decided that they were going to tear those houses down, and with my father working at the Hungerford School, the house that Mrs. the Thomas house in Eatonville was the old church, and we lived in that for a while until my father could make provisions for us to have a house to live in. And then we've been there in Eatonville ever since. In fact, I graduated from Hungerford High School, 1935.
Okay.
What is it about Eatonville, besides the fact that your parents, found work there, that kept you there, that makes you feel so positive about your community?
Well, Eatonville was a community where we lived in, and everyone was close together. Mm-hmm. If anything went wrong in your household, the people came to take care of it. Mm-hmm. I can remember Mr. Hamilton, after they worked in cleaning ground spaces, that at night they would build fires and dig wells for you until they had a piece of wood that went around looking where the water was, and when that went down, they knew that's where you could put the well there. And they would make a fire at night. They worked all day long out grubbing and whatnot, cleaning ground. Then they would come and drill your well, and you had a pump to get water. But later on, and years went by, you had electrical pumps that you could get your water out of. And then when Eatonville let me say this about Eatonville. Eatonville had people, the Hunger for School produced doctors, lawyers, engineers, anything that you had, that school produced, because it was from the Tuskegee Institute, and the teachers came, they knew how to teach the children. They don't teach children anymore.
No.
That's true.
You got the computer and all these little cell things, you know, and you give them to little children, and you go to church, they got.
That's true.
And you don't, the teachers that we used to have, they taught us. They start A, B, C, and D. You got A, B, C, and D. When you got A, B, C, and D, then you went D, E, and F. But you had to get it together, and after a while, you got the whole alphabets together, because they made sure that you knew the alphabet correctly. And when you learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got that in your mind right. Then they went 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they didn't go like they're doing now with the computers and all these kind of things. And that wasn't the right thing to do. But in Eatonville, Eatonville had their own council, their own mayor, their own everything that they had. They came out of Home for School, most of it. And the teachers, some of them came from Fisk, Hampton, and they didn't bother but the schools in Florida, but they just had the black schools all over the nation. They came, and the majority of those teachers that came were single men and women, and they coded and got married and lived in Eatonville. And that's what we're a community that grew up together.
When, in your opinion, did Eatonville stop from going from its heights, being this great place where these people came from all over to a period where it was lesser? And you can tell me when you think that might have happened.
Well, I can't. Let me see. In the 50s and 60s, when they started the integration of the schools, it was in the 60s. That's when things went bad, because our children were accustomed to our children. And then when you went to a different school, then you were kind of pushed away.
You're all kind of agreeing with this, so so you feel that the desegregation was not a positive in this area.
No, it hurt the students, because when you had to be bused to a different school and you had different teachers. See, our teachers at that time were interested in seeing that students got what they needed. And if you weren't real up to up, and your parents weren't real up to help you with your lessons and whatnot, you were just pushed aside.
And that didn't happen before. How is that different from what happened before the schools were integrated? If you weren't making your books, for example, before, what would happen?
And I agree with that, because I can recall when the teachers from the high school used to make house calls.
Yeah.
And I forgot I have a half sister, Diane Perry. And Diane and Christine, a cousin of mine, Dixon, they were terrible in high school. They were just very active. And I can remember so well, 3 teachers came to visit. We all lived in apartments down there. And they came to visit, make those home visits to tell them how they were doing, that they needed to stay away from each other. You wouldn't dare get that now. And that made a difference, because the teachers knew you, they knew your parents, and your parents knew them. And if they spank you, they spank you, no questions asked, be it right or wrong. It was never asked of that. And for me, I went to Hungerford my junior high years. And during my 9th grade year, at the end of my 9th grade year, integration had started. So that was 66. Renee and Deborah Kirby, who lived on the corner here, they went before us to Winter Park High. They were a year ahead of Renee was 1 year ahead, and Derek was 2 years ahead. So they had already started integration. A few kids from Edenville, like I want to say Kitty Faye Majors, I'm not sure. But there were a few kids from Edenville that went to Winter Park High also. And by the time our whole class, the class of 6 to 9, got ready to go to high school, they divided us 3 ways. We had a third of the kids went to Edgewater High School, and a third stayed at Wymore. They changed the name of the school to Wymore Tech, and a third went to Winter Park High. So most of us in Winter Park went to Winter Park High. We walked every day. And the ones in Edenville, of course, had to be bused to Edgewater. And the ones that stayed in Edenville and some who went to Park continued to go to Wymore Tech. So that was 6 to 6 we started.
So let me make sure I understand. I'm doing this also so I don't know who you are.
Right.
You knew the integration was coming and it was going to get split up when you went to middle school. I mean, you were able to anticipate that, or was it a surprise?
Well, see, when I went to middle school, no, we didn't know about it. It's only when they started to middle school, which was 2 or 3 years after us. But for us, we were involved in everything in Hungerford. The bus picked us up. We went all the way to Woodbridge, pick up other students. So Hungerford was just the ideal place. We had all types of activities and things that we did at Hungerford.
Can we back it up a step?
Yes, Ms. Walker.
To describe how things were. We had segregated communities. You had a black community, you had a white community. If you lived in a black community in Winter Park, it was West Winter Park. Eatonville was an all-black municipality. But you had the other side of the tracks. And in Winter Park and Eatonville, whatever, like Miss Jeannie said earlier, when 6 o'clock came, if you didn't have work or any business in whether it was Eatonville, Maitland, or Winter Park, you came home. You were not allowed on the other side of the tracks.
Well, what would happen if you decided to allow yourself?
You go there?
Okay,
Yes.
basically what happened to Trayvon, you might get beat, you might get killed, anything might happen. So nothing had really changed in that aspect, whatever. You knew your place, that when dark came, you went home to your community. You had thriving communities, you had your grocery stores, you had your churches, you had your undertakers, everything that you needed for a community to survive, you had that in your own community.
So who told you that it wasn't your business to be in another place? How did that knowledge get translated to the young people to not be in certain places at a certain time?
Your parents.
Your parents.
And
For fear of you not returning and no one ever knowing what happened to you. If, say, a group of kids got together today, they might decide that, hey, we're going on Park Avenue. That's the main street here in the park. We're going on Park Avenue to get ice cream. Well, back in the day, you didn't have that opportunity.
No.
You knew better than to go because you had your own ice cream shop in your community. Like I say, if it wasn't about business, if you were not working for quote unquote the white folks or whatever, you had no business on the other side of the tracks. You came to your community. You might not ever be seen again.
And there were instances where people disappear?
I can't necessarily, in my day and time, I can't think of anyone disappearing or whatever, but you might get beat, you might get lynched or whatever. Winter Park has been around. See, what we didn't explain about Winter Park and nobody has touched on, Winter Park, when they were incorporated, they had tried to become incorporated 4 or 5 times. They couldn't become incorporated. So there was a newspaper guy by the name of Gus Henderson, a black guy, that wrote the Advocate. Right, the Advocate was the newspaper. He came back to the people in this community to say, Winter Park is trying to become incorporated. Hey, let's go and place our vote or whatever. If it had not been for the people of West Winter Park, the community that we live in, Winter Park would not have been incorporated when it was incorporated, because they had tried 4 or 5 times, but the people of color had to help them to become incorporated. But since their incorporation, they have tried to kick West Winter Park out of the city limits various times.
Ms. Jenkins, you put your hand up.
Yes, and the Winter Park too, you see, was mostly made up of northern people that came down here to live in the wintertime.
Rich people.
The millionaires.
Millionaire, that's right.
They
Millionaire.
and they came to Winter Park, you see. So where they had lived up north, it was a different atmosphere than the atmosphere down here. So they stayed here 2 or 3 months out the year, and they left us down here to take care of the property while they were back up there.
And a lot of the people in Winter Park worked for
Yeah.
the white folks on the other side of the tracks, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
They were the maids, they were the gardeners, they were the chauffeurs, they just did everything. They took care of the kids, they did everything for the people that came here. They were called snowbirds, for the snowbirds that came here in the summer. Sometimes they even went back north with them to take care of them, say to help them get settled and everything. Then they would come back home and tend to their families and all.
Ms. Dexter, do you have any members of the, you seem to be nodding going along this?
Well, I agree with what they're saying. I came to Eatonville when I was 4 years old, and we were only here for a short period of time. My father had gotten into some trouble, so he was looking for some place to hide. So he brought us here to Eatonville. He knew about it because he had moved a couple of families there. So we stayed here for a year. Then he took another crew of people up north, and so we went back to work. So when we came back again, I was 5, and I remember going to the school. I couldn't go to school because I was still too young. But we had, teachers from Winter Park. Miss Reed taught the hunger for years. We had Miss Pope from Orlando. So we have teachers outside of the city at that time teaching the elementary schools. But I also went to Hannibal for 5th grade.
Okay, this was the elementary school right across the street.
Right across the street.
Yeah, that's it.
You all went to school there?
I went 1 year because that was we didn't have a 5th grade teacher in Eatonville, so they sent us over here for that year, then back to Eatonville, and from there to Hungerford. But my experiences in Eatonville were, we just had a ball. We were looking for a place to settle. We were glad Daddy found somewhere to bring us because we were on the road all the time. And this place never in the same place twice, other than where we worked. We went back to that same place over and over. But when the season was over and you have to come to Florida, and I don't remember being in Belgrade, but my sister was born there, so I know we stayed down there for a while, and then Montezuma. So Eatonville was good, even though the house didn't have any facilities or anything. So my dad had a well put in, and the pump is still there at that house. But we used to walk up the street with pails to get water and bring it back to the house. So my father said, if we stay here another year, when I come back, then we'll get a well. And he did. And so we stayed there, and we've been there, ever since, really, because he got electricity, then he did put in bathrooms and all of this. But I think what I heard her talking about teachers coming to your house, and this happened at Hungerford a lot.
Yes.
When we were going to school, or at the elementary schools, the teacher would come, because everybody know everybody in Eatonville, so, and I remember stealing oranges, and the neighbor beat my butt, She didn't wait to tell my mother or whatever.
You got the second whoop.
But that's how it was, everybody looking out for everybody. I don't know if she's looking out for me or the man who owned the orange grove, but they were looking out for each other. and I remember saying that I wanted my children to have the opportunity to go to Hungerford because I knew the teachers really cared. I never remember a kid being sent home from school when I was at Hungerford. You might dig some stumps. You might clean some land and pick up around the school campus, but not sent home.
Mr. Glover talked about that yesterday, that for punishment, they had to dig up the stumps to clean the field. That's still in use today.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you did all of this, and if you were in home ec, you watched the football team's uniforms, you made their lunches for whatever basketball team was coming there to Hungerford to play. You guys remember, because you say you went to Hungerford, so I wanted my kids to have that experience, because what I've seen just from my oldest daughter, who went to Edgewater High School, when she gets a notice about school reunion, yeah. And I talk about our school. She said, "Mom, I wish I had gone there. You know, I don't know half the kids I went to school with, and they didn't care to be with us in the first place. So they had their little niche, you know, kids who rode the bus, going back and forth with them, and so she missed that camaraderie that we had when we were in high school, and that's one of the reasons that I stayed in Eatonville, even after moving away, getting married and moving away. And when we came back, when my husband got a job back in this area, I was glad. So we bought property and built our house in Eatonville, so that my kids still have that, you know, that feel that you have in your community, and I think that's invaluable. I think that is great for the kids and for us.
Yes.
And you know, everybody, when something happens, you sort of pull together and see what you can do and how you can help. And,
yes.
And even if you didn't know them personally, you know, yes, my sister went to school with that person. Sure. And so you get used to being called Little Thomas because they can't remember your name.
Right.
Yeah. Thomas kids.
Do you have a big reunion with your schools that you all go to? Is there something like that annually or biannually?
Well, we have a mass reunion for Hungerford. It's just a matter who's going to do the next one. And see, for my class of '69, which was we call the last original class from Hungerford, we only attend the mass reunion. We do not attend Winter Park High or Edgewater. You don't feel a part. I know I had worked almost 10 years with someone before I realized that we went to the same high school at the same time. And one day, Dick Blaymar came with the yearbook. He said, Cookie Walker, because that's my nickname, Cookie Walker. And he had yearbook out. We had attended school together for 3 years and didn't even know it. And he had been working together 10. So little things. So we attend all the Hungerford mass reunions because that's what our memories are. And I can remember when we first went to Winter Park High, we didn't have all the problems that they had at Oak Ridge and some of the other schools when they integrated. I think because all our parents worked for everybody, all the good white folks, and their job was on the line, and we probably had misbehaved. But it was just a different breed. We had a little bit more, the kids from here, and we had a little bit more sophistication than to do all the foolishness. Because like I say, a lot of us shopped at Leaders downtown, where the good white folks shop at too. You just wear wages up. But a lot, we didn't have those problems, and we kind of, I guess, out of respect for our parents, we never had those problems because we knew some of the kids already because our parents worked for them. And it's like Mr. The guy that was the recreation director. His daughter lives in Windermere now, and she played tennis. And the only sports we had was basketball. See, at Hungerford we had the sports. But when you got to Winter Park High, it was only tennis and swimming for the girls. And none of us did the tennis and the swimming. And then when they first started this integration, I can remember Lee Thomas, which was in my class, was a good athlete. Winter Park was losing football at that time. So by the time Lee Thomas and all that gang started coming over, they started winning football. Winter Park hasn't looked back yet from winning football. But but it took a lot of the athletes from Hungerford because they were at Edgewater and Winter Park High.
So they split the community.
They split the community 3 ways, and that's what happened. But we still, for all of us, like I said, the class of '69 stuck with Hungerford when it's time to do things with the school.
You want to say something, Ms. Bailey?
Yes, and she was talking about the chauffeurs. All the chauffeurs stayed at the Locken Hotel. And that's, see, my mother married Mr. Locken. Her first husband was Mr. Locken's brother. He was a preacher. And he came here and he brought mother here, and when they went to Mount Moriah because he was a Baptist preacher. And she was, raised up Methodist, but she married him, so she had to go there. So he got sick, and he wanted to go back home, so she carried him home, for him to die there. And she came back to work with Miss Locken in the hotel there because all the big chauffeurs, they lived there when they come down from the north. That was their residence. They stay there and eat because there was good food there. And we had a laundry, the man had the laundry across over there.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, Mr. Smith had the laundry over there.
And his brother was the chemistry teacher at Jones High School.
We had a lot of things down there. And they lived with everything now. They done got everything now and got all the fancy shops and stuff down there now. It don't look like how it used to be us, you know.
See, the last takeover came in, when I say takeover, because that's what it was, in 1990, they introduced community redevelopment. Like I said earlier, Black communities had everything that they needed in their community. They had the speakeasies, they had the laundromats, they had the grocery stores, they had whoever, the
We
whatever.
had restaurants.
Everything you needed.
Definitely had the numbers.
Look, everything you needed was in your community. Well, in 1990, they came up with community redevelopment.
CRA.
Right. CRA for Florida State Statutes 163 dictates that, to say that they came and looked at this community to say, oh, those colored folks over there, they're blind, they're apathetic, they need help. This is what we're going to do for you. We're going to incorporate Park Avenue in these dimensions. They described, laid out the land as to say from this street to this street, which really was from Dennings to Interlochen and from Webster to Fairbanks. That's going to be community redevelopment area, and we're going to take the tax increment dollars, and keep in that community to rebuild, to redefine that area. Well, the 500 block, the next block over from here, was the business district for this community. But as we look at that business district today, there's only 2 businesses of color there. That's a barber shop and a beauty shop. When before you had all other types of establishments ran and owned by Black people. I think that integration was the demise of a vast majority of Black communities in the South, because then you started going out to your other stores and all. You weren't supporting the stores, the things that was in your immediate community, because
Going down to the mall.
you can go to the mall, you can go to a little chain, you can get it a little cheaper and then the groceries and the foods. At one time we had fresh produce, fresh things in your community, whatever. It was harder to come by and everything, because the larger conglomerates were selling it much cheaper than a little local person could sell it. So people, when I grew up, everybody had a garden in their yard. Today, they're going back trying to teach kids how to garden.
Yeah, chickens and everything.
Right, they're trying to teach you. Today you have to have a permit to have a chicken in your house.
That's right.
You always had a chicken.
Get rid of all the chickens. Had them off the ground, and then come in and get rid of the chickens.
How did this happen in your opinion? I mean, obviously people were still cared about their communities.
Yes, but
how did it happen?
How did it happen? Because now I'm trying to save pennies just like the next amount. Remember, in the 70s or whatever, things got bad. The economy was really bad and everything. So now, if I can go to ANP, Winn-Dixie, what's some other
Marketing.
Walmart. No, that was before Walmart.
Publix, Albertsons.
Right. If I can go to the grocery store and get a bag of rice for $1, opposed to having to go to the McHegg store and it's gonna cost me $1.50 or $1.80 or whatever. Where do you think I'm going? To the chain, opposed to this little small store in the community. Or they have the Pauls had a little store here on the corner. He had to sell his stuff a little higher. So now, we're now going out of the community to get the things that you normally would get. They did something else. City Hall, my house is falling down, I need to remodel my house or whatever. Well, they put those sneaky tactics and things. See, when I was coming up, the thing was the people were trying to save Morris Boulevard. That was a major thoroughfare through Winter Park, and it had houses, 2-story houses, all type of houses and whatever there. Well, today when CRA came, they finally wiped all of that out.
Okay.
People for years, they looked, this is how I personally feel again, that they looked, we gave those good colored folks some prime property, set in between Park Avenue and the Winter Park Mall. That was prime property. And we sat on the prime property. Now, the line is drawn in the sand in their community that we will have house. But here you can have a house, you can have a business, you can have an apartment, you can have anything. This is how they bust up the community here in this in West Winter Park. You made our streets much wider. They're thoroughfares. They're not residential streets. When I go to their community or whatever, you can't park 4 cars on the street, have a car parked here, a car parked here, and 2 other cars to travel up and out. But in West Winter Park, they do that, and it's no problem. Yes, it is a problem. It is a serious problem. When I look at, it's just the way the community. Each day we continue to lose more and more property. They rezone it to something other than single-family residential. I resonated so much in City Hall that the city motto was a city of homes. They changed the city's motto. Because I kept asking, who was it a city of homes for? It's certainly not a city of homes for me because you don't allow me, I know what my thought was, you don't allow me to have a home. When people back in the day wanted to get their houses or their houses needed to be fixed or remodeled or whatever, they told them you couldn't go in and just fix that back porch or whatever. Right. You had to tear that house down and start over. Well, why should I have to tear my house down when I only need the back porch fixed? So that was another way of making people move on or whatever. For whatever reason, people that lived in this community that owned property would not sell their property to other people of color in the community. So now we've grown up. We're ready to go to school, ready to come back to start. We have to move somewhere else because there's nowhere for us to live in this general area.
And besides from all that, you're asking why some of the people lost so many homes in the city of Winter Park in this little section. I can remember the first kid. I remember when we started immigration being on drugs. That was a Jackson kid who went to Glenridge, started doing the drug thing. And now, over the years, drugs have hit so many homes in the city of Winter Park that a lot of the homes were lost because of people dealing with drugs. They over-mortgaged, or they couldn't pay whatever they had to pay because they're on drugs. They borrow. Just like Baby Lakes, we used to have a business person here around the corner, Morris Boulevard, all the way down to Simon. He owned all the rental property, owned the store, owned little juke joint. It was a lot of, and he went around the corner to Simon Avenue. He owned all that property. He had a wife, Miss Irene, and they had no children. But they left all their property, whole block of property, to their nieces and nephews, which is my other half, the Perrys, and left it to them. One of the children get caught up in the drugs. So every time she would go and get in a little trouble, the good white guy would go and bail her out. She signed something. Next time she's in trouble again, he give her some drugs. She get caught somehow, one in the house, and he go bail her out. So she keep putting her signature there. And so when it got to the point of, and there's 3 kids that own the property now, 3 nieces and their nieces and nephews. All of a sudden, Dan Bellows come up and says, hi, partner, to Jackie, which is the oldest niece. Hi, partner. She didn't understand what he was talking about down at City Hall. Well, he has gotten Fatima's signature all those times that own her third of the property. So now they in awe what to do. So now he got the other weak link, the nephew, a weak link, a little money is put before him. Now he has his part. Now it's on the third left. Now you got Jackie left, looking all dumbfounded, don't know what to do. Now he gets the whole thing. And I mean, talking about prime property, it was prime property. Didn't cost them anything, it was given to them. Hadn't earned a thing. And all that property was taken from Morris Boulevard all the way around to Simon. Little things like that. And that happened to a lot of people in Winter Park. They lost because of drugs. Little things like that. And that came because of integration. Integration. And like I said, I remember the first kid was in our class, that Jackson kid that got on drugs. You know, we knew things about drugs. We went into the drug scene then. But when integration started, that's when it started coming more and more and more. Our kids smoked a few cigarettes or what have you. But the drugs actually started, and from then on, it's been downhill ever since. So,
yes, ma'am.
I think too, it comes about for a lack of education. I don't mean education to go to college. Just being educated on things about life. Because you know, I really don't think we were ready. We couldn't see what this was going to do to us. We couldn't see in the future. But, we weren't prepared. And so therefore we didn't get our kids prepared. Because I was just thinking of a situation I know where someone says, you know, I want to buy this property from you. Well, this property is worth $10 million. I'm going to say, I'm going to give you $3 million cash. They think that's a lot of money. They don't realize what they're giving away.
By the time you pay taxes and everything, you don't have to.
Right. So I think we just need to be, you know, I don't know where you're going to start, but we just need to be educated about these things, especially when you inherit something. I think it's so bad when somebody inherits something and then lose it.
I found that my friends and all that have inherited something, they take it for granted. They can't visualize their parents, their grandparents that have had to get out there to work so hard for it, have had to really fight to keep that property or whatever. So now it's nothing to them. Oh, I want a new car. I'll sell that. Okay, why you can't work for that new car? Or it's like things to me that are not important. They will sell a piece of property or give a piece of property away to be able to go and get that monetary something at that time. To me, that's just crazy. But it wasn't left to me. I can't tell them that they can't do that because it belonged to them.
Right.
But I'm saying you have the money-making mechanism in your hand and just won't educate yourself to know how to use it for your advantage.
Right.
Ms. Dinkins, you educated?
The county and the state, all they want to do is go take your property away from you. Or we're going to make a bypass.
That happened here.
A bypass. And they'll say, well, we'll give you so and so and so and so, when it's worth 10 times what they are offering you. And you might feel like you might need that particular amount of money at that time. But then you don't have anything else left.
And right, if you don't want to sell your property to the state, the city, municipalities, then they will use their eminent domain powers and say that we're going to take this property because we have a better need for it. I don't think down here, it's now called the MLK Park, but there is a block area to where it is the city of Winter Park owned it at this time. But people of color used to live there. That's where the original sinkhole and all was at. But when they were going to build I-4, the major thoroughfare, they came in and told those people, you have to move. We want your property because we are going to build I-4 there. Well, they never built I-4 there. They end up, I don't know if the city of Winter Park bought it to them or they turned it over to them, but then it was to be used as recreational property from here forevermore. We played softball there for years. They decided that this is how they play ball. They decided that they didn't want softball there any longer. Usually they sent out a community survey asking what would the people like to have in their community. Well, when they no longer wanted softball to be there, they sent out a citywide survey because they knew the majority of their kids wanted to play soccer, or soccer was the new thing coming up. Oh, we're going to move the softball fields out of the community. We're going to move them over here, but you'll still have access to them. Well, it's a difference in me walking across the street to play softball than having to get in my car to ride 2 or 3 miles somewhere else to play. People need to become more aware and understanding that their voice, their vote, makes a difference, and we so many times take that for granted. Yes, everybody come out to the presidential election. Oh, it's big time, president. But then it's those little things that happen in your community when you're voting for your mayor, when you're voting for your congressman, when you're voting for the little simple things or whatever. that makes a great difference or whatever, and we need to teach our kids. I sat in meetings for 20 years or whatever, and I look back one day and say, hey, ain't nobody teaching our kids nothing. They just think that we'll give them a computer, we'll give them a basketball or whatever, and no. I ain't coming to meetings no more. I need to do something with the kids, and basically that's what I do. I stand up, do something, take care of your community. Don't throw paper on the ground. It's like I make them do projects every year. We do 4 projects. One for themselves. That's usually a retreat. They've never been anywhere. Let's go to a hotel and plan out what we're going to do for the year. We got to do something for the senior citizens because you should be grateful that they left a piece of community for you. Then we do something for the little kids. And then we just do a community-wide project or whatever. If it's no more than you see the men standing on the corner or whatever, well, why can't they put a bench there? So let's petition them to put a bench there so the men can have somewhere to sit or whatever. But it's still a lot to be done. Day by day, our community, I feel like, is leaving us, being taken away from us. Because the reason I say that it's being taken away from us, going to meetings or whatever, you sit there and you make a decision, or city commissioners, mayor make a decision to say that this property is going to be zoned residential. Well, the next 5 years you turn around, you got to go right back to a meeting because you have a new regime and you have new commissioners and things in that never picked up a piece of paper to see what the regime before them or the decisions they made before them, but all they know something is here. They come in and change what you have fought for all this time. We felt like we needed affordable housing in this community. Now they're asking, don't y'all have enough affordable housing? The only thing they're building in their community are homes. So why would we want anything other than a home? In this community, they have built 3 parking garages. Yeah, we don't have one damn decent car in this community. So we don't need 3 parking garages. I'm saying, and then they don't think about the environmental impact, what it does to the people, health and all. I don't want no 4 or 5 story anything next to my little single story house.
And see, one of the things that I noticed, now I live in Orlando, I never get anything in the mail about, do you want to sell your home? I own the house 2 doors down and constantly getting stuff, do you want to sell this house? Do you want to sell this house? And just think of that same literature get in the hands of the right person, and they're desperate for money that day, they're going to sell that house. And more than likely it was given to them anyway. And that's what constantly getting. And when we're talking about the area down there, when they displaced the people that live down there, we used to call it Monkey Jungle. And it was a kind of like wetland, but I remember Mr. Smith lived down there. I think Hera lived down there, a cousin of ours. And several people, they went to Edenville. The Wells went down there. They all moved to Edenville during that time. And that's what they had to do at the time. But yet, then we come back over here, and they do the constant thing of getting people to move out of their property, or you find out that they really didn't own the property. The white folks they work for owned the property because they rented all those years. You thought the people owned their homes. That was something that I discovered with somebody. All these years, and when they died, I was checking into the property. They didn't own the house. The people they worked for owned the house. And I can remember right down the street we had where my grandmother worked. She worked for we knew was the general.
John Andrew.
And because her dad worked as the gardener. Her dad was the gardener. My grandmother was a maid. Miss Ida was the cook.
That's right.
I tell Mr. Ben, I don't know, the chauffeur, he would pick everybody up every morning, take them out there to Interlochen or somewhere.
That's right.
The
house still there.
That's right. So you know where the house is. I work for the general.
We fish all around there. Have a good time.
I'm gonna take her out there one day.
Well, we've had such a good talk. I don't want to last it too long and tire you all out. But I'd like to just ask a couple of things, get you to respond to just a name or an idea and get some responses from you, and then give you each a chance for final privilege to just make a general comment. So the first comment will be, and then you just think about it, whoever wants to chime in, please do. Barack and Michelle Obama.
I'm glad we had an opportunity to have a president and a first lady of color, but I feel like they have been, what's the word I want to use? Too many games have been played with them, too much politics or whatever, to where they were not able to be as effective as they possibly could have been, simply because people are mean-spirited. And not only is it in the White House, it's in the communities, the neighborhoods, and all that we live in. And we do need to sit down and have that talk. After the Trayvon Martin, the Zimmerman being found not guilty, and juror, I'll never forget this, juror B37
Yeah, 37.
said that she believed what Zimmerman said wholeheartedly.
That's for sure.
This is how I feel that type of mentality, that type of thinking takes place throughout the United States. That if you're not white, you're not right. And I don't foresee maybe the next life, but in this life, I know that I will not be white. So I have issue, and yes, we do need to sit down and talk. See, we learn their language, their way of thinking, because we're forced to, but never once do they stop and consider us. It's like we just go to school together. After school is done, over with. Oh, you speak so well. Oh, well, why wouldn't I speak well? Oh, you comprehend, you understand. Well, what do you think I did when I went to the same Winter Park High School that you did? What do you think happened when I went to school? You thought I ate the book? I read it because I was supposed to read it. I was supposed to gain something. So I just feel like Barack Obama's hands have been tired by mean-spirited people in the United States.
What I did over what Ms. Walker said, but at the same time, I also look at it as opportunities. You tell children, never give up. They can be anybody they want to be. Regardless of how they get there, they can be that if they look forward to it. And I truly believe you can be anybody you want to be in these United States. It's just a hard task to get there, but you can't give up. And that's what Barack and Michelle has done for me in encouraging young people. Don't give up. You can do it if you want to.
I feel sorry for him and I love him. Because I don't care what he tried to do, they try to pull him down. And that's because of his color. When we was kids, my daddy always told us, say, you know, there's going to come a person from way south, and they're going to rule the world. And when he came along, I knew what Daddy was talking. I wonder, how did Daddy know that? But he told all of us, sit us down and talk to us. And he said, there's going to come a person from the way off, and they're going to be of color, and going to rule the world. And when he got in there, I said, oh, Gene Bella was right. How did my daddy know that? You know, she's a beautiful woman. She's doing everything she can. He's doing what he can. But they got knocks. I don't care where you go, it's a knock. But all he got to do is hold on there and hold on to God's hand. Yeah, make it. He made it back there this time, didn't he?
Amen.
And all that this man was talking about, and God knows he was telling stories, you know, I don't want to hurt him. But he was telling stories all the time, trying to fool the public. And then when they caught him on tape, saying about, you know, that was so beautiful. I laughed and I cried. And it was saying, I hate to break this in, but when Winter Park took all Miss Curtis and all them, Timberlake, them homes, and you know, they came back and tried to sell them the land back. What they thought was coming was our vote. But our vote didn't come to him. They took the land from the people because they knew because it was coming this way. But our vote went through Eatonville and Maitland. And they tried to get Miss Curtis and them all about it. But Johnson had went out there and got a place back there. Timberlake had got side by side out there. Miss Curtis went to Eatonville. The other lady went to Eatonville, and her nephew went to Eatonville. And so they didn't want it back. But they tried. They tried to get them to buy it back because they failed of what they did. I know everybody knew that. They tried to send it back to them because Miss Curtis told her, she said, I don't want it back now. I got a place, you know. The place where she stayed till she died, I didn't leave it. And, but they do all those dirty little tricks.
I just want to say that I'm very proud of the Obamas also.
Me too.
But I often think about my father when I see them or when I hear them. My father finished a book that was called The Blue Book Webster when he was a kid. That's all the education that he had. And so he believed in the old-fashioned handshake. And so he couldn't understand contracts too well. So because he didn't understand them, he wouldn't sign them. And he would say every year he had an opportunity to sign a contract for the next year to bring people back or whatever. But he was working for some Jewish people the last time, and they tried to get him to sign, and he said no. He said, well, we're going to shake hands on this. And he said, and one thing you have to remember, I believe that if you shake your hand, you put your life on the line with me, telling me that this is what you're going to do. So he said that learn his ways and beat him at his game. And I think Obama learned the game. He went through the channels and everything he was supposed to. He knew he was going to run up against all this opposition. But I think in all of the things they say and do, they have not been able to break him or his spirit. And this I think is so great because you say my kid can be anything. Yeah, now we know he can be president of the United States. So you can be anything. Little things you start here and you learn whatever you need to learn to prepare you for going where you want to go. Now, he probably never even dreamed of being president of the United States. But since the opportunity was there, he was able to take advantage of it. And I think about my father, and I think about Mr. Johnson, who taught my daughter tennis in Eatonville. And when he first started, he stopped her from rolling tires down the road. And he said, would you like to play tennis? She said, if you show me how to play it, I'll play it. So he used to tell her all the time, she went all over the United States traveling with tennis. And he would say, I want you to pay particular attention to a particular girl who played like her, but did things that were better to make her better. And he said, learn their game. And when Tina would be playing, many times he would be on the sidelines, and of course he couldn't say anything because you can't coach then, you know. And so they had signs that they would give to each other. And he would always say, learn their game. See what she's doing to you. She's making you run. You got to, you know, play the game so you know, make her run, you know, switch this around or whatever. And she and I were talking about that, and she was saying, we were talking about how Mrs. Obama had to find her niche in the White House, and she did. And nobody has ever done that before. Mrs. Roosevelt, of course, went planting flowers all over the United States and making this countryside beautiful and this type of thing. But hers has been about health. And you know, and so I think it's something that all of us should pay more attention to our health. So she's encouraged all of us, and I just think that he knows he can't run anymore, but he's doing the best he can with what he has. And I applaud him for speaking out the other day about this Trayvon situation. And, you know, he has to remember, he's not just the black people president, you know, and he's telling us this all the time. So I would like to see him, when he leaves that White House, leave it on an up situation, whatever it is. And I think we can help him too. When they ask us to do certain things to push him there, we just need to do what we can and teach our kids to vote, and teach our kids to be proud of their heritage. Because this is how we're losing so much of the property and stuff. The kids don't know.
That's right.
And you got to teach them their heritage. And you got to let them know how important it is. And I'm going to quit when I say this. My husband's family lived up in Madison, Florida. And they all had 200 or 300 acres of land. So when the father died, he had 100 acres and he had 5 kids. So he left each one of them a portion. And then the mother died, but she split hers before she died, so there wouldn't be any argument. So now road is some highway or something is trying to come through, and each one of these kids, and they're upset. They got to deal with each one of these children about this property. It's all along that road, but it belongs to 10 different kids, you know, or 5 different kids. So my daughter said to me, she says, I'm not selling I only have 5 acres. She said, but I inherited that 5 acres from my great-great-grandfather. And she said, I'm going to hang on to it. They're going to have to take me to court, and I'm going to get a lawyer and fight them. She said, I will not just hand it over. And this is what our kids need to do. We may lose, but they don't know they have a fight. You know, we're not handing it over to them.
Thank you.
Ms. Dickens, you have a...
Yes, I am very proud of our president. I hear so many people trying to push him down in so many ways. But he has the ability to stand strong and high, and he's gonna get what he needs to get done, because he knows how, the words to say to get it done. And may God bless him.
Amen.
Okay. I guess it wouldn't be right to try to leave this part of the state and not talk about this George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin thing. So I'd like to get a few comments from y'all. What are your thoughts about?
Well, I'm very upset about it because he hated the black in the first place. He had called the 911 on the black before, and 2 of those that they lived in his community where he was. That's what I was told. That was in the news. And then when he saw Trayvon there, he called the police and told them. They told him, "Are you following them?" "No, but I'm going to." He said, "Don't do that. You wait there." He said, "They been getting away, but this one will not." I will remember the longer they had lived, because that's what he said. He intended to kill him. He intended for him to not get away, because he said, this one will not get away. That means nothing but murder the little child. And I just feel so sorry for the parents and things. But they announced yesterday that they done put a hold on his gun, not to give him his gun back. That is a beautiful thing, because he gonna kill again.
Go hear about it.
If he died, he's still in my heart. I feel he'll kill again, because it's in him.
I think these laws that we have, that's where it has to start. They have to change the laws. But what the law is going to force us to do is be prepared for these type of situations. You know, he's dead and he hadn't done anything.
That's right.
So if I'm going to die, I'm going to die fighting. Somebody else is going down with me. You know, and it's forcing us to do things like that. And where I'm saying that I may not ever buy a gun, but how many people are going to say that? How many people are not going to? They're going to have to defend themselves. And I remember my son was friends with a couple of kids from Maitland, white kids from Maitland. His father was a judge, a couple of attorneys and doctors, and they would go riding in this little boy's Jeep. And when they would get in trouble, they said, "Vaughn, you drive." I said, "Don't ever drive their car. No, never drive their car." And I told him, I said, "If you do, I'm taking your driver's license, so you can't drive." I said, "Look out for, oh, Ma, they would do that. They're my best friend." I know, we love them, you know. And I said to him, if they're your best friends, how many nights have you spent over their house? Your best friend with Anthony, you go over here, you spend the night.
That's right.
But how many times? Well, I go to that party. I said, they're your friends for now. Yeah. And next year, they may not be your friend. But Anthony lives right down the street. You're going to be friends with him forever. But you got to be very careful about how you live and what you do and where you go.
That's right.
With these boys, because it's your life might depend on it.
I'm telling you.
Then they get in jail. Their dad, the judge, what's his name? He called down, and they don't even take his son to jail, but they're gonna take you.
They're gonna sure do it.
So I hate to say you different, but I say you're special. You're special to me and for this family. Right. So you just have to protect yourself. Look out for yourself, and know that what I'm saying to you may not happen to you, but you can see it happen to somebody else. So be aware.
Something that you said triggered a memory for me. There are a group of young people right now who've occupied the Florida Capitol.
Yes.
The Dream Defenders, kind of bringing back that spirit of the civil rights movement, the sit-ins,
Right.
and the protests. What are your thoughts about these young people dealing with Governor Rick Scott? Are they doing the right thing? Are they doing something else?
I think it's great because they're peaceful.
Yeah.
We've had times when we weren't peaceful.
Right.
But at least they're trying to do it that way. I don't think it's going to result in anything about getting those laws changed, because he said he's already made his statement, but I think we got to start with the senators and the representatives and trying to get things changed so the laws can get changed, because he doesn't really change the laws.
Right.
You know that. But they're making a statement, and I think that's good.
Because I saw a recognition on your face.
I think that we should be taught to vote. The vote is the most important thing in this world. Now, I can remember when the little policeman from Maitland came out to Eatonville and encouraged the people to vote. Mr. Can't think of his name right now, but he's a little tiny man. But he came out and encouraged the people, had a meeting, encouraged us. We stood on the street in a group. He said, I want you all to register and vote. And that was way back. And if you don't encourage a child to vote, then we're lost. So we need some training. See, the churches used to teach some politics, but they done got so now all you want is
money. You're right.
and give me a fine car to drive in, and don't preach the gospel right, don't use it the right way. And so we've got a lot of training to be taught. We're way behind in training. Yeah. We don't encourage our children to go to Sunday school. And Sunday school is one of the greatest particles of your life, because you learn there.
That's right.
And when you learn it, it hits you, and you see somebody else that need it, you tell it to them and encourage them. So I'm past time now. I've seen so much and so many things happen, but we need some training. Definitely, we need some training.
I think there's something in what you say. When I was growing up, I went to Sunday school, Baptist Training Union, Vacation Bible School.
Yeah, everything.
And now the schools are so secular, they don't want to teach values, teach religion. But I think about my friends that didn't go to Sunday school. If you don't know in this part of the country who Daniel was,
that's right,
and what he was doing in the lion's den, whether you're religious or not, you can't have a common frame of reference with people. If you don't know who the Good Samaritan was,
that's right.
or what happened to Saul on the road to Damascus, that is such an important part of the storytelling. How we deal with people. What about this parable? What about this song? Things like that. So now that the schools are like this, that you don't have a Bible reading in the morning, and you don't teach those things. What are the ways that young people can learn these important values? How do you transmit those values in a community to a young generation, which really is highly disinterested, unplugged, don't know what they don't know, and don't want to know? What is the solution from your years, your wisdom? How would you approach it?
I think the community that you live in is the best place to start. Have a yard party or something that will bring the children together. And when you get them together, then you have an opportunity to tell them what is right and what is wrong. Because we have so many children.
Let me tell you my experience. When I was young, we went to Sunday school, BTU, but my dad had taught us that Sunday school lesson before I went. So if my teacher said there was something wrong, I said, my dad would say that. But he knew that Bible. Like I said, his father was a minister, but he was a minister that taught them. Yeah. And so my father taught us. So as a result of that, I can't help but teach my kids.
Right.
And I have dinner. My kids are all grown and around, but I have dinner every Sunday Natalie is there.
Yeah.
My son is there, and anybody else who wants to come. Now we eat and we laughed and talked, and our conversations end with the Bible on every one of those sittings, right? So it's just common nature for us. I'm not saying I'm the most religious person in the world.
No.
But it's you know, my kids know, but it comes from teaching at home. It have to. But let me tell you this experience I had because it broke my heart. I retired years ago. But this last year, a friend of mine was in the drop program, and she had to get out, and she is not old enough to draw Social Security or anything. And she said to me, I just can't live off this little bit of money. And she said, I'm looking for somebody to work in the office for me for 6 months so then I can go back. So I said, okay. So I went through all that trouble. It's been a long time since I filled out an application for a job, go down to the county office, fingerprint, and all this stuff. I told her, I said, it cost me $50-something to get fingerprinted and all of this. But I was trying to help her. So I worked for 6 months. And then when the 6 months was up, she went to go to work, and they told her they changed it to a year. She said, oh, Miss Dexter, I hate to ask you, can you work 6 more months? I said, I hate for you to ask me too. I said, but I'm going to go ahead and work. And one of the things I did, it was like intervention with the second graders. That was my little group. This little boy told me one day, I mean, you think about who's teaching these kids. This little boy said to me, I'm not going to do nothing you say. I'm not going to do anything. He has, what is it, the ADA or whatever. So he didn't have his, I said, you didn't have your medicine? No, I had my medicine. It's in my mama's bedroom. And I said, well, I'll call her and we can get your medicine here, I'm telling you, it ain't gonna do no good to call her, Miss Dexter. I said, why? Because a man came over here in the room and they've been locked up in that room all day and all night. Second graders.
Yes, ma'am.
Second graders.
That's right.
I said, how many sisters and brothers do you have? He said, me and my little brother and my sister. And I said, did they get that? Are they on medicine? No, ain't nobody on medicine but me. And she keeps it put up in her room. And he couldn't get to it. But I was thinking, who's teaching this kid?
Nobody.
And then how many do we have like that? Now those kids really, I never knew there were so many kids on medication until I started working out there at that school. And how many parents don't care?
But they get a check for every child that take that medicine. They call it the crazy check.
Really?
And it's the crazy. I never forget at our school, Dr. Phillips, there was a kid who was a senior, and he was fed up with getting the crazy check because his mom wasn't sharing it with him anyway. And he wanted to go into a regular curriculum. And he and his mom fell out. He actually left home and was living with another family down the street from where I live because he didn't want to get that crazy check anymore. She put him out because she wanted that money. So every time your child's taking all that medicine and they put them in those programs, they get a check for those kids. That's what this is about, income. It's not about the kid being crazy. And then they go for a certification, they tell them that crazy. They tell them what to do.
Oh my Lord.
And that started Head Start. Remember Hazel telling how some of the parents come in Head Start and tell the kids, now this is the day you're supposed to do all this crazy stuff,
So now how are you going to reach those kids?
Because the parents all messed up. That's why you can't reach them. That's right.
But this little boy want to do right.
He wants to do right. Oh my goodness.
That really helped me. So I told him, I said,
It's real.
find out where he lives and maybe I could go. My husband said, go what? Get shot.
Don't go there.
Because you can't change the parent.
No.
And that's what the problem is with our young parents. It's all about the money.
That's why I gave up Head Start. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
I gave up Head Start because when I was working, we had the kids train rides and the parents picked us up from Sanford in cars. We had them SeaWorld, we had them around in college, we had them everywhere. They don't do anything like that now. And then, see, the parents want you to raise them and teach them.
But you can't touch them.
You know not to do that. We learned that in school. But listen, I sent the lady a note. God knows I was working on at the church with Miss Ray. And I told her, you want us to teach your children, raise them and teach them. We're here to teach your children. the education. You raise them at home. She said she was coming down there, and what she gonna do to me? I said, come on. You will never go back. I meant it. From my heart. If she'd have come down there, they'd have put me in that big old jailhouse over there. I would have laid her out. I always had my gun, you know. I didn't play. So it was time when I had the wreck right up there going to the thing in 69. I gave it up and just started working here at the center. Because I knew it. You're not going to tell me what you're going to do, and I'm trying to get your child. Because that's what we went to school for, to teach him.
Well, you see, one thing that happened in this area, and it's a sad thing to think about it, but it happened. The soldiers were here in Orlando, in Orange County, and if they had one, they had 1 million here. And the soldiers ruined this area because the girls, oh, I got me a soldier.
I'm married when I ain't ruined me.
Just a minute. Let me finish the story. All right. So they got the soldier and got a baby. All right. Oh, that's it. You didn't know what to do. And then, you see, after that happened, the little child grew up to be 12 years old. The soldiers were still around. So they got that little child. So the mama ain't had time to change the trail, to train the child. You see, so we have lost our young people through that part of life. You know, so that child got old enough to get a soldier. So we got 12-year-old children having 12-year-old children, and they haven't had time to train the child because mama was out busy with the soldier, got me, and I got you, and so we don't have time to. So we have lost, and our churches now, all the ministers are thinking about is.
I beg to differ with that.
No, wait
all ministers.
No, wait a minute.
Not all.
Not all of them. Most.
This might be a lot of them.
Most of them. If you turn your television on, you get one in this religion and one in that religion and one in this religion and this religion, and not see, religion is not the thing to teach. You teach a child how to live. You know. So religion is nothing but an idol. Religion is nothing but an idol because you are worshiping what they are telling you instead of understanding what's in the Bible. I'm through with it.
What's your final thought, Karen?
Well, my final thought was, we talked about a lot of things. The Trayvon Martin thing, the this and the that, the kids in Tallahassee doing all the right things. We just need to get more of our children involved, young adults involved. But the bottom line, our churches have got to do a better job. And you know, bottom line, they have to. We can all read the Bible, but somehow we read that Bible, we see so many different things because we wouldn't have all these different. What do you call it out there? It's only one Bible. We claim we believe it, but yet we do all these different things. And growing up, we know the ministers weren't all perfect, but the point was, there are things that were discussed in the church that helped keep the community on task. Our ministers meet now, and it's all about self, what their church can get, how big their church can be. We have to reach out to our communities. And I used to look at, a few years ago, how you see these white churches coming to our communities with their buses and pick up our kids to take back to their church. What are our churches doing? And the difference was they would come pick them up, they would feed them, for teaching whatever they taught them, and then they come back to our neighborhood. Our ministers don't want to do that. We have to reach out and teach these kids because the parents don't know. And they're the same parents you're talking about, Mrs. Dinkins. You know, they're young parents, they have young kids, and their kids have kids.
That's right.
And no one's teaching them. No one's teaching them. And our churches is a big responsibility. That's where we grew up, and all the things that happened with civil rights was through all the churches mostly.
Absolutely.
And we lost all of that. I know we have on the integrated churches and stuff, but we've lost a lot. And all my prayer is that our churches are not doing enough in our communities. And my hat's off to any young adult who stands in Tallahassee, regardless of if you make a difference or not. Just like one vote. One vote makes a difference.
Yeah.
And we have got to teach that to our kids. One vote makes a difference. And I don't care if you lose this time, but you'll win the next time if you keep hanging in there. And our churches have got to start speaking out a little bit more and stop talking about the I part and do the we part. And I truly, truly believe that. And once we start doing that, we can get back on track again. Trayvon Martin, I just say it's all in God's hands now.
Absolutely.
If he's guilty, as we all think he is, but we may not know because we weren't there. But God will take care of his heart.
Absolutely.
He will wear his heart down, his mind down. He'll be the craziest man on this earth.
Absolutely.
It will happen to him. If that's God's will, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. I believe that. I'm through with the Trayvon Martin thing. Because I have 2 sons, and it can happen to them any day.
Absolutely.
It can happen to me any day.
Yeah.
But I just say it's in God's hand. If we just trust in God and I truly believe in God, he'll take care of George Zimmerman. And that's the way we have to look at it, because the more we talk, people get upset, they never agree. And we're not going to agree on this thing because we weren't there. So just leave it in God's hand, I think, would be fine. And if we do everything and leave it in God's hand, we'll be fine. Because, again, that's where we got back from the Sunday school.
That's right.
You were taught right and wrong. Your mom and dad told you right and wrong, but you heard it again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt to hear it over and over every day.
That's right.
And that's what even now, we still need to hear right and wrong. As adults, as old as we are, we still need to hear, and we still need to go by that. If we do that, we'll be okay. We can't give up.
No.
I truly believe we have to keep encouraging
going, yeah.
ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, our neighbors' children. Even though we know we can't do the things we used to do, but we can still pray for them. We can still encourage them and be there for them. Because I believe in helping other people and reaching. That's what we were brought up, always helping other people. So this community, this country can come back, but we have to put God first.
Absolutely.
You had to put him first for everything.
Everything.
That's why I'm here today.
Yeah.
On account of my God.
Amen to
I
that.
can thank God for my life, because I know I've had a hard time, but I can walk without a stick today.
Yeah. We all want to go through
Thank God
something.
for it.
Miss London Walker?
My final thoughts are, we as people of color have the power, and we need to be able to realize that we have the power. Dealing with the United States, we can vote. We need to get out and vote. And the only other thing they understand is money. And we, believe it or not, have the money, but we just don't know how to use it wisely. We need to look at our global spending as to how much we, as people of color, spend. And we can make a difference here in these United States that we live in. And yes, we do need to be trained in a variety of aspects. We need to take it back to the communities, to get to know your community, to get to know your neighbor, to get to know the people in your community. And we can make a difference. But we've got to quit looking at the news, allowing people to shape our ideas, our thoughts and all, by putting us down, telling us that you're not worthy of anything, you don't look right, you're not the right size, your hair. These things have been going on for generations and will go on for generations to come. But there again, I know that we have the power. We just need to be able, we need to be trained to know how to use the powers that we have. The laws of the land, we can make a difference by, like you said, the group of kids in Tallahassee. They're doing the right thing. They know that they have the power. It might not make a difference today, but Rick Scott knows that there's an election coming up.
All right now.
He's going to stop and think about that's power. Money, that's power. So we just need to stay focused or whatever, and we can make a difference.
Amen.
Ms. Walker, Ms. Everett, Ms. Dinkins, Ms. Balen, Ms. Dexter, on behalf of the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program and our partnership here with Rollins College and with Hannibal Square Heritage Center, I cannot thank you enough for this opportunity to benefit from your wisdom and your perspective. It's been an honor for me. Again, I just edify you and thank you and lift you up for all you have done and continue to do. On behalf of our program, these will be the final comments that I make. I know you've made some comments in between, but I'd like to extend to each all of you again final privilege. If there's any comment that you might want to make, and when you've exhausted the comments that you choose to make at this time, that'll conclude the interview with our thanks. And once again, here on July 20th, 2013 from Winter Park, thank you very much for participating. So I'll leave it to you.
I'm writing a book. I haven't finished it yet, but because I've been sick, but I am writing a book for Winter Park. I asked my daughter over there to check it out. It's in Aftermount. So when I bring it over, I wanted to scan it, because I got some more to put in it. You write about feelings. Well, it's going to be nice, because it's about Winter Park. So I'm raised here, I'm writing about it.
I gave my final thoughts, but I had one more something that I thought about. The building that we sit in today is called the Heritage Center. The city of Winter Park just happened to change their motto to the City of Heritage and Culture. The way in which we got this building was my sister and I was on the Martin Luther King board one year. Peter Schreier, the CEO, I guess, of Creole School of Art or whatever, we asked him to be our guest speaker. So I told my sister, tell him we're interested in doing a collection of pictures about West Winter Park and all, because we knew that he did this in other areas of He said, oh, this is one of the things that I was interested in doing. So I said, just back up. We encouraged him. And I'm saying that to say this. It is sad that if we had gone to the city of Winter Park and told them that we wanted a heritage center, we never would have gotten it. We still would have been debating that today. But here he was, we just whispered the word in his ear, continued to encourage him, backed him in the things, and today we sit in the Heritage Center. So I said that to say this. It's not how you get it, but you got what you wanted. That's all that is what mattered. We got this building to display the history of the people of West Winter Park. It doesn't matter to me that we had to take another engine to get it, but we got it.
I just want to say I really have enjoyed all of this information, because if we hadn't been here together, we never would have known.
That's so true.
So true.
You're absolutely right. And thank you, sir, for giving us this opportunity. Keep up the good work. Go around to other communities, do the same thing, because I know that there are other communities that have stores that are being buried, that are being lost, or whatever. We're not going to be here forever, but we can always go back and say, oh, you can go to Rollins, you can go to review at University of Florida, whatever. They have some documentation on what took place back in the day. Thank you.
Okay.